A cold wind rushed through the busy city street that night, but nothing felt colder than the look on the CEO's face as she stepped out of her car until her eyes met his. A humble single dad, sleeves rolled up, holding a toolbox, staring back at her with a calm strength she couldn't explain. She didn't know his name. She didn't know his past. She didn't know that the man fixing her building's broken generator was once a legend whispered about in military corridors. All she knew was that something about him made her heart skip, and fate was about to pull them together in a way neither expected. The story begins on a rainy evening when Elena Hart, the brilliant yet lonely CEO of Hardtech Industries, found herself stranded in the company parking lot. The power had gone down across the entire high-tech building. She was furious, exhausted, and on the verge of tears after a brutal week of investor meetings. Just as she was about to call her driver to take her home, she noticed a man kneeling beside the emergency generator, his hands working with careful precision. He wore cheap work boots and a faded jacket, and his hair was slightly messy, like he'd rushed there with no time to fix himself. Yet there was something undeniably confident about the way he moved. His name was Daniel Cole. A single dad. A repair technician. A man who seemed simple, almost invisible in a world filled with suits, money, and power. But behind his calm gaze lived memories he never spoke of, scars no one could see, and choices that had broken him long before life forced him to raise his little son alone. Elena approached him, trying to hide her frustration. "Is it fixable?" she asked. Daniel glanced up, meeting her eyes for the first time. His voice was soft, steady, yes. The whole system was seconds away from collapsing. Whoever installed it didn't know what they were doing. "But don't worry, I won't let your building go dark." There was something strangely comforting about his confidence. Elena, for the first time that entire week, felt a little less alone. When the lights flickered back to life, she expected him to leave like any contractor would. But he paused, noticing the exhaustion in her eyes. "You should rest," he said. "You look like you've been fighting the world." Elena froze. No one spoke to her like that, no one dared. She was the untouchable CEO. The powerhouse. The woman who didn't break, but this stranger, this humble single dad, saw right through her. She didn't know that Daniel had once read people in seconds, because in combat, knowing someone's state of mind meant living another day. Later that night, she couldn't stop thinking about him. Chapter 1. Daniel Cole lived in a tiny apartment with his 7-year-old son, Liam. Their life was simple: small breakfasts, morning school drops, fixing anything in the city that broke, and long nights helping Liam with homework. To the world, Daniel was just a quiet man doing odd jobs to survive, but the truth was much deeper. Years ago, he had been part of an elite special forces team, one so secret that most people didn't know it existed. He had saved lives, sacrificed brothers, and made choices that haunted him every night. When his wife died suddenly, Daniel left the unit. He hung up the uniform, cut all ties, and swore to protect Liam from every shadow of his past. He chose a simple life because he felt he didn't deserve anything more. But everything changed when he met Elena. A week after fixing the generator, Elena spotted Daniel again, this time in her company lobby, carrying a toolbox and walking toward the lift. She wasn't sure why her heart picked up pace, but it did. She followed him into the elevator. "You again," she said, trying to sound casual but failing. Daniel chuckled softly. "You say that like it's a bad thing." Elena, usually so composed, felt her cheeks warm. She watched him as he pressed the button for the 12th floor, her floor. "I didn't call for any repairs today," she said. "No," he replied, "but your maintenance team did. I go where the work is." The elevator ride felt strangely intimate. Like two worlds that should never touch had suddenly collided. When the lift shook unexpectedly, just a small jolt, Elena flinched. Daniel didn't hesitate. He stepped slightly in front of her, protective reflex kicking in instantly. It was subtle. Quick. Natural, but Elena noticed. "Why did you do that?" she asked quietly. Daniel blinked, realizing what he'd done. "Habit," he said. "Habit from what?" He hesitated. "Old life." She wanted to ask more, but something in his eyes told her not to push. Later that afternoon, as Daniel repaired a malfunctioning robotic arm in the engineering lab, Elena watched him from the doorway. She didn't understand why she felt drawn to him, why his silence felt like comfort, why his steady hands made her chest tighten. When he finally noticed her, he smiled. "You're staring." She looked away, embarrassed. "Just checking the progress." Daniel put down his tools and walked toward her, slow, careful. "You don't have to pretend," he said. You look like someone who hasn't been listened to in a very long time. The words hit her like a wave. Maybe that was why she didn't stop him when he asked softly, "Want to take a walk outside?" You need air. No man had ever spoken to her like that. No man had ever cared enough to see beyond the CEO exterior. And without thinking, she agreed. They walked along the quiet street behind the building. Elena found herself really talking, for the first time in years. About stress. About pressure. About being stronger than she felt. Daniel listened, offering no judgment, only understanding, and he shared little pieces of his life to Liam, the struggles of being a single parent, the guilt he carried. But he never mentioned the military. Never mentioned the missions. Never mentioned the blood. As they stopped by a small street-side bookshop, Elena realized she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safe. Chapter 2 weeks passed, and Daniel became more than a repairman at the company. He became a presence Elena looked forward to. Their encounters were simple but meaningful: coffee breaks, late-night talks, quiet glances, and moments when Elena felt her walls slowly cracking. One evening, she found Daniel waiting for Liam outside school. The little boy ran up to him, laughing, and Daniel lifted him with a joy Elena had never seen before. It softened her heart instantly. Liam spotted Elena and waved. "Hi, Miss Elena." She smiled and walked over. "Hi, Liam." Daniel looked embarrassed. Sorry, he remembers everyone. Elena knelt beside Liam. "Your dad talks about me?" Liam giggled. "Sometimes." Daniel's face turned red. But Elena didn't tease him. Instead, she felt something warm spread through her chest. She wasn't just attracted to Daniel. She was falling for the way he cared for his son, the way he lived his life with dignity despite hardship, the way he protected without trying to impress. That night, Elena invited both of them to dinner. Daniel tried to refuse, but Liam pulled his hand. "Please, Dad. I like her." Daniel sighed and agreed. Dinner was simple, light, filled with laughter. For the first time since his wife's death, Daniel felt normal. Like he belonged somewhere again. But fate never lets happiness bloom quietly. A week later, a black SUV followed Daniel home. He recognized the pattern instantly. His heart sank. Special Forces surveillance. His past had found him. That night, a man knocked on his door. A former commander. A ghost from the life Daniel had buried. "We need you back," the man said. "A dangerous group resurfaced, one only you have intel on." Daniel froze. "No," he said firmly. "I'm done." The man stepped closer. "Your refusal endangers civilians, including those close to you." Daniel's blood ran cold. Elena. Liam. The next day, Daniel didn't show up for work. Elena called him. No answer. She felt panic rising, something sharp tugging at her chest. When she reached his apartment and saw him packing, her heart broke. "What happened?" she whispered. Daniel turned slowly. "I have to leave." "Why?" "Daniel, talk to me." He clenched his fists. "Because I'm not who you think I am." Then, with a pain in his voice she had never heard, he told her the truth. Everything. The missions. The secrets. The kills. The guilt. Elena felt her world tilt. "You're Special Forces," she whispered. "I was," he said. "Now I'm just a man trying to protect his son, and the woman he stopped himself. "The woman you what?" she asked, voice trembling. Daniel looked at her with eyes filled with everything he'd tried to hide. "The woman I've fallen for." Tears filled Elena's eyes. "Then don't leave." "I have to," he said. "To keep you safe." She stepped forward, touching his cheek. "Daniel, you protected the country. You protected your son. You protected me, without me even knowing." He looked away, broken. "I don't deserve you." She lifted his face gently. "Maybe you don't see your worth, but I do." Liam ran in then, hugging Daniel tightly. "Dad, don't go." Daniel held his son, his heart tearing. For the first time in years, Daniel realized something. He was tired of running. He turned to Elena, voice steady. "If I stay, will you stand with me?" Elena didn't hesitate. "Always." Daniel kissed her then, long, deep, and full of the promise of a future he never believed he would have. And as he held Elena and Liam together, he understood one thing: a humble life didn't make him weak. Love made him stronger than any battlefield ever had.